Welcome fourth graders, it's me, Mr. Duclos, and today is day 3 of understanding equivalent fractions. Let's jump right in and see what we can do. Today we're going to be learning about how to use a tape diagram with fractions. So the last 2 lessons, in day 1 of understanding fractions, we used multiplication to find equivalent fractions. On day 2, we used division to find equivalent fractions. Today, we're going to use both multiplication and division, but we're also going to do it using a tape diagram and later a number line, so we get a good visual as to what it looks like when we're working with fractions. So right here I have a tape diagram, and the tape diagram has 2 parts, 1, 2. 1 is colored in, so it's 1/2. But what would happen if I multiplied it by 2? If I made the 1 a 2, and if I made the 1 a 2? I didn't change anything about the size of my tape diagram here. All I did was change the number of parts. I changed the number of parts from 2 to 4. So now I have 2 out of 4. So we know that 1/2 is equal to 2/4. What if I did that one more time? What if I multiplied this all by 2 again? So every time there's 1 box, I'm going to make it 2, because 1 times 2 is 2. So we have 1 box, I make it 2, 1 box, make it 2, make it 2, make it 2. So now again, I didn't change the size of my tape diagram. My tape diagram is exactly the same. All I did was change the number of parts in my tape diagram. Now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 total parts. Remember, the total goes in the denominator. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4 parts filled in. 4 parts filled in. And what we just did there, using our tape diagram, is the same thing as going 1/2 times 2 times 2 is equal to 2/4. Times 2 is equal to 4/8. So what we did here was the exact same thing. Now I'm going to show you an example of where we do the opposite, where we use a tape diagram to find an equivalent fraction going down. So how would we show what we just did using division? Well, we start with our 4/8, and then we divide by 2. That's the same thing as when I made 2 boxes, 1 box. So I divide the 4 by 2, divided by 2, and divided by 2, and that gives us 2/4. 2/4. And then again, we would divide each side by 2. Divided by 2, divided by 2. That's the same thing as doing this, giving us 1/2. So either way you do it, you're going to see that the answers come out the same. If you can make a fraction have a larger numerator and denominator, you can also do the reverse every time. Now we're going to look at an example using a number line. So now we're going to use a number line to help us find equivalent fractions. Right here we have a number line that I broke into thirds. At the start, we have 0/3, and at the end, we have 3/3. The black lines represent 1/3. So we have 1/3 here, another 1/3 makes it 2/3, and another one makes it 3/3. But then what I did was I added 3 more lines in between, giving me 1, 2, 3, 4 sections. So now, what used to be thirds is 4. So, but that's not the whole, that's just one part of it. So if we have 4, and then another 4, and then another 4, 4 plus 4 plus 4 is 12. So another way to look at thirds is in 12ths. And then, how does it look like that? So at 0, 0 is going to stay the same. So we have 0/3, we have 0/12ths. At 1/3, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 12ths. So 1/3 is equivalent to 4 12ths. Then we keep going. We have 5, 6, 7, 8. So 2/3 is equal to 8 12ths. 8/12. And then we keep going for the last third. 9, 10, 11, 12, ending with 12 12ths. So 3/3 is equal to 12 12ths. This is just another way for you to understand equivalent fractions. Whether you draw a picture like a square or a rectangle, use a tape diagram, use a number line, or feel comfortable just using multiplication and division, whichever way you feel best to find equivalent fractions is the way that you should use. Now, let's move on to our independent work. Now we're going to move on to our problem set. Remember, at the end of every lesson is a problem set that you have to complete independently. First thing you always do is first name and last name. That way your teacher knows exactly who did the work and you get all the credit that you deserve. Then we move on to our first problem, number 2. The instructions say, use the number lines and tape diagrams to tell what fraction is shaded. And then this is the same exact thing. So we look at our tape diagram, you can see a 1 up here. That means that there's one whole. This whole tape diagram is just 1. But there are 1, 2, 3, 4 parts in the whole. That will also help us fill out our number line here at the bottom. At the beginning, you always have 0. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 sections. So this is going to be 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, and 4/4. So now either way that you do it, you're going to come up with the same answer. Either you count the parts to the whole, 1, 2, 3, 4, that goes on the bottom, and then the one that's shaded in on the top, 1/4. Or you look at your number line and you see that it matches up right here, and so that it's 1/4. Either way, the answer is going to be 1/4. And that's how it should be. If you get a different answer on your tape diagram versus your number line, it means you made a mistake. You always want to have the same answer for both. You're now going to go on and do number 3, number 4, number 5, and number 6 on your own. These questions are very similar, if not exactly the same, to what we just did. Number 3 has the exact same instructions. So even though there's many more parts, that doesn't mean that you're changing what you're doing. The process is still the same. You're still going to count your parts to the whole. You're still going to fill out your number line, and then you're going to come up with your answer. Number 4 is the same way. It's even bigger, but that doesn't change what you're doing. There's still the parts to a whole, filling out your number line, and then making sure the answers match up. 5 and 6 are a little more challenging, but only because there's no number line. No number line underneath. You're still doing the same thing though. You're counting the number of pieces, and then you're figuring out what the fraction is, the parts to the whole. So good luck, and that will be the end. So that finishes day 3 of comparing fractions. Now you need to go finish your independent work, and as always, have a great day.